And by the time I actually finish recording it and all that, it's probably the hype has died down and no one will watch it. Oh well. Doki Doki Literature Club is a super cute dating sim that makes you go Doki Doki for all those cute girls. Who you gonna choose? You can only choose one. Just one. Look, if you've heard of this game in any way, you know it's not what it seems, and that's what I love about this game. I haven't had an experience quite like this, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite games of all time. Now, this review is going to contain some light spoilers, but nothing that'll break your gameplay experience. I actually found that knowing that something bad is going to happen actually keeps me engaged and riveted in the story. So I'm going to be splitting this review up into several different parts. First is going to be story, music, art, and gameplay. So let's get started. So the story starts off just like any other romance anime or visual novel, and basically Sayori introduces you to a club called the Literature Club at their school. And through there you meet a bunch of girls and you eventually become closer to one of them depending on what words you choose during the poem writing sections. But issues start to develop. Sayori becomes a little bit more distant from you, and later on, you realize Sayori is going through a lot of serious problems of her own. And that's where the story gets interesting. I actually stopped playing because I had a feeling that something horrible was gonna happen if I kept playing, and guess what? Something horrible happened. Yeah, I've played through that scene many times and it still gets me. And I'm gonna go into why it's so effective every single time in the music section. Now, you might think the nightmare's over, like, hey, got an end screen. Oh no, it ain't over, son. The nightmare's just begun, and you gotta restart the game. Basically, you have to click on that weird little glitched out start button. Don't reinstall your game, that's all part of the game. What I love about the story isn't just because it's dark, but it throws you for constant twists and turns that you don't expect. You might know that something's bad's gonna happen, but you don't exactly know how it's gonna play out. But when it finally does, you realize that they've been planning that idea throughout the entire game, and there's actually a lot of ironic dialogue. It actually makes me want to replay the game even more just to catch those little details, on top of me just being a completionist when it comes to visual novels. This story evokes a whole gamut of emotions. There's fear, there's sadness, happiness, and of course, love. But when it comes to that, you don't really have a choice. It flips your everyday mundane dating sim tropes on its head and basically puts a horrific spin on it. For a good chunk in the beginning, it was actually pretty mundane. It was kind of, I'd even say boring. But when conflicts start to ramp up, that's when things get interesting. And in Act 2 and beyond, what happens there propels this game to like one of the top of my lists. Doki Doki. Now, the menu song's been stuck in my head for several days, and I occasionally catch myself humming it. And the reason why it's so catchy is because they're all thematically similar. There's recurring themes that tie all of these songs together. And without these songs, this game wouldn't have the same impact that it did on me. So what starts off as like a really cute and cheerful theme song becomes the backdrop of horrors and the terror that consumes the entire game. So why is the music so scary and off-putting? Well, distorting music, making it go out of tune, slowing and speeding it up at random intervals, that gives us a really uneasy feeling because it doesn't sound quite right. Music actually has a really strong emotional connection. It's able to evoke so many feelings. It's actually one of the most expressive art forms out there. So when the music becomes a bit off, we feel off as a result. This is how they're able to terrorize us without indulging in jump scares. I guess it's like a really primal reaction that we have to music. A really effective technique they use is silence. It's actually super powerful. When the music's constantly playing, you kind of forget about it. It just becomes like background noise and something that's normal. But when it suddenly stops, it becomes really jarring because it takes you out of your comfort zone and you become really aware of what's happening. And when you finally reach that bedroom and suddenly everything's set back in motion, it just feels like a big blast in the face. And that's why that scene every time still gets me. It's a really effective way at building suspense. You don't need to do your typical Hollywood thing where they're like, or that droning sound they have in a lot of horror films, right? Just make it go quiet because That's the best way to create contrast and hit the viewers hard when shit goes down. Now on to the piano. This might just be a theory, but the piano actually plays a big part in the story. When you're playing the game, listen to when the piano comes in and when the piano stops, whether it's in the scene or not, because it can explain why that one girl is aware of what's going on. That's just the hint I'm gonna drop for you. Now, the character designs are pretty stereotypically cute for a dating sim, and there's nothing too remarkable about them, but it's what they do with the art that sets this apart from other visual novels. They aren't afraid to mess with or even glitch out many of the character image files, and they do so many little modifications that it just makes you feel like something's going wrong. And the scary thing is, I felt like my reality was crumbling as well. I became actually kind of paranoid. I was like, oh my god, I actually looked behind my back many times during the gameplay. Things were randomly changing and becoming distorted, and it makes me feel really unsettled. And the thing is, the game itself talks about that. They say there's nothing more creepy than things just being slightly off. They take your expectations and start flipping things around and pulling them apart, and that's what makes this gameplay truly terrifying. They also use noise effects in the background and strange glitches to throw you for a loop at times. I think this might be the first time I've ever seen this in a visual novel, but it's able to read your computer. Like, it knows if you're streaming, if you're running OBS or XSplit, or like, it can even read your computer's username as well. I mean, it's extremely creepy. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm up my own ass or something, but I feel like this game is extremely meta. They break the fourth wall and aren't afraid to get experimental at times. And the developer himself says that. You know, he's fascinated by the way visual novels are able to tell stories that other forms of media can't. And he's pushing the boundaries of what I thought was possible with this medium. You can get a special message from him at the end of the game when you play through like all of the routes and all that. And also, if you want to learn about some secrets they hid in this game, like just beyond like the surface level, like actually decompiling like the different character files and different game files, like you can head on over to Reddit. Those guys are absolutely amazing. They've like found so many hidden secrets, and probably I think some of them are hints towards Team Salvato's next game, so that's something to look forward to. So in summary, I absolutely love this game. It's one of these games that changes you, the way you look at the world, and even sparks something within you. It's actually given me so much inspiration for my own writing. So I guess in a way, I was in the literature club. I did learn something from them. I love games that challenge you, that force you to think from a different perspective, or even are just emotionally impactful. I guess this is less of a review and more like a love letter to this game. I rarely do this, but I want to say thank you to the developers. You know, they've created something truly special that I will never forget. It's kind of like Saya no Uta, where I wish I can just, erase my mind just so I can experience this game again. If you're still watching this and haven't played it yet, I can't stress enough, but you need to play this, alright? Like, if you're interested in visual novels or want to experience a unique and effective method of storytelling, you need to go out and play this. You need this in your life. It's much more than a game. It's an experience, and a damn good one at that. Oh, and for those of you who are wondering about the character file at the end of the game, don't worry, it's right here.